Alright everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil, and there's a very important survey that's kind of snuck under the radar a little bit that Capital Games posted on the forums. I've got it linked down below so you guys can go check it out. And I wanted to post about this sooner. I've just been really busy with work, obviously house stuff, so you know, it happens. But I want to get this out here, guys. So we're going to talk about this survey and kind of why it's extremely important, and also kind of sheds light into the way Capital Games is viewing the Galaxy as a whole right now. So go ahead, like and subscribe, comment down below, let me know your thoughts. Let's get into our intro and then we'll pop over to the video. Alright, so we're actually going to move over to a screen capture here. So this is the survey. Again, it is linked in the description down below. You can find it on the forums where they have it here, right? And he's like, hey, you click here and it brings you to this website. So you got to fill in your ally code. But then it asks you this question of what is your galactic power? And this is so insane to me that these are the groupings that they put this in. So 0 to 1 million makes sense. But then we go from 1 million to 3 million, which I think is way too vast of a group. Way too vast of a group in my opinion. I feel like they should have gone with much smaller brackets. But then this next one to me is one of the more jarring ones. 3 million to 5 million. So you're asking people, you're polling people saying, hey, are you 3 million galactic power, which means you can't even do hard mode conquest yet, to 4 million where you just got there, and then 5 million where you've probably been doing it for a few times, you understand how it works and you're kind of prepared for it. So like that grouping of players to me is just absurd. Like that is not a grouping of players that I would say is in the same kind of position. Like I think you really need to go with smaller groupings here, but this gives us so much information about the way they view the game. And then even look at this bracket, 7 to 10 million galactic power. The needs of a 7 million galactic power player and the needs of a 10 million galactic power player are on two separate parts of the universe. And yet they're grouped together here. And then finally 10 million plus. Like I just think they really should have put, like, it gives you, they could have just put your GP. Hey, Phil, type in your galactic power. Hey, you know, here's a like they group these together because this is the way they view the player base. This almost tells you like their versions of the phases of SWGOH. Early, like the beginning of the stage, early. And then like these two, I'm like, okay, do you have like middle, like early middle, late game, and end game? Like, is that how they're viewing the game? Because why would you not ask 12 million plus? It's because they don't care. They, like 10 million plus is, hey, end game. That's the way that they're viewing that. I don't think that's accurate at all, but I think it is important. It gives us an idea of when they talk about certain things and saying who they're trying to help out. It's this lens is what they've decided to publish to us. So that has to be, this is the lens that they use to look into the game. I could be way off on that, reading too much into it, but I feel like when you publish something like this is something that you probably would put some effort into thinking about. Hey, we want to make sure that we're getting an accurate view of your account, and I don't think this is it. So anyway, we're going to move on to the questions that I would argue don't really make a ton of sense. So, how important are the following items in game for you? Least important to most important. I don't like the way that this is worded because you're kind of having, like, they've only given you 4 categories. So you could give everything 4s, you could give everything 1s. Like, I don't like that. I feel like they should have made you rank all of this from best to worst. But we're going to start with credits. And for me, as a almost 11 million galactic power player, I put that at a 2. Credits are not overly important to me. I use credits to buy mods. I kind of level up characters when I need to, but they're not this big crunch for me. They're not something that I need to go out of my way to obtain. I buy enough of them with my raid currency. It's not something that I'm like, gosh, I'm out of credits, I don't know what to do. Like, I have not ever been there in a very long time. All right, next is Zetas. So I put this as a 3. I would argue this could be a 2 for me if the light speed bundles didn't exist, but because of the light speed bundles, I boosted my account forward. Zetas are kind of a bit more important to me now than they used to be. For some players, this is probably a 4. For some of you guys, this might be a 1. Again, just be honest. Like, don't, I don't want you guys to go put the answers that I put here. What is important to you? For me, Zetas are about a 3. I love getting Zetas. Am I sitting here like I need 80 more of them right now? No. Like, I think I'll be okay. But they are important enough that if you're going to reward them for something, I'm going to try and go get them. Alright, Omegas are a 1. I don't think I've ever been in a position in... I can't tell you the last time I sweat over Omegas. I don't... I have like 600 of them, which doesn't sound like a lot until you think you don't use that many of them to begin with. So, like, I don't know. Like, anytime I get a character, it's just immediate Omega and move on. Omicrons at a 4. Omicrons are very important to me. In fact, like, I want Omicrons to get to the point where I'm going to equip them on Territory War characters because I have the GAC ones. Like, that's the goal that I want to get to. So they're very important to me. They're a resource that I'd love to see more of in this game. Alright, next, we've got Datacrons and Datacron currency. I put these both as 1s. I don't view... If they took Datacrons out of the game tomorrow, I would be happier for it. So, they're not important to me. I don't want events to give me more of these. I think that there's plenty of them as it is. If you took them out of the game, I'd be even happier. So, Datacron's just not important to me. Character shards. So, I put this as a 2. A lot of you may want, more. I just don't see me needing that many more character shards. At least of, like, just if I flip back over to the game for a second here. I should have done this earlier, but when you look at the characters I actually need shards for, right? If we go here to power and you look at the characters I need shards for, it's all the new characters and then Gungans, right? Like, once we get down there, it's the new characters and the Gungans, right? It's stuff that I just, new characters, Afra stuff, and then Gungans. Like, there's not that many characters I have left to star up. So, character shards are not overly important to me to the point that I need them to give me more Omega and Trip Zero and Hoth Rebel Scout and Soldier shards. For some of you, maybe that's the case, and that's okay. But I did try to just be honest and answer this as an 11 million Galactic Power player. Character shards are not something that I'm going out of my way to try to get. I'd love if they would give me more of the new stuff, but that'll never happen. Gear. Now, I put this as a 4. This is where I'd say, like, I'd argue, like, all of these right here are pretty solid, like, okay, this makes sense. But this one I don't like, gear. Because the next grouping down, just to show you, is energy. So, like, what the hell is gear? Are you talking core gear? Are you talking Kyrotex, relic materials, relic mats? Like, what the hell encompasses gear? I think, like, you've got to tell us what that is. Because there's so much in there. So, I put it at a 4 because I view gear as Kyrotex and Gear 13 gear. Like, that's gear to me. So, it's very important. If you're thinking core gear with this, Capital Games, we can move that down to like a 2. Alright, so I'm going to group all of these together right here. So here's the 4 kinds of energy. They're all very important to me. I don't know that I would rate any of these. Like, if I had to rate them on a scale of 1 to 0, or like, 4 to 1, I could absolutely do that of what's the most important to me and the least important out of energy. But if you're asking me, like, this is why I don't like the way it's worded, is that, you're asking me how important are they? Well, they're all really important. Like, to the way that I play the game, they're all very important. But if I had to rate the most important kind of energy, that's where this gets dicey. So, I think for me, this is where they could have made this survey a little bit better, is group these together and say, rate these things least to most important. And then you probably get better responses because you'd learn where people are really focusing. For me, like, this is the only way I can answer it because, like, I want all of this stuff and more. Conquest energy. So, I'm a big believer in how important Conquest is. If they want to give me more Conquest currency, or Conquest energy, I'm all for it. It's very important. Conquest is probably the most important game mode for the vast majority of the player base. And I think ignoring it sets you back. I mean, it can set you back years. because of proving grounds, missing out on stuff. It is really detrimental to Miss Conquest. Next, extra attempts at events. So I would love them to describe what do you mean by this? Like, are you talking extra events on capital ship events, Smuggler's Run, Endor Escalation, assault battles? Like, what are we actually, like, this is not Omega battles. Like, no, like, of good events, absolutely. I'd love more attempts at them. You know, like, that would be a really, really great thing for this game, is to give us a little bit more rewards. You know, those extra attempts at events would be awesome. Like that, you know, now again, I don't want to have to pay crystals for them. I just want it to be, hey, we're going to give you 2 attempts at assault battles, and then you can sim it twice. Which, also, can we add sim buttons to Smuggler's Run? All right, next is crystals. I mean, everybody should put a 4 here. Crystals are literally the lifeblood of this game. And then mod slicing and mod calibrating. I think those are very important to me. Again, I think to a lot of people they are, but I think for me, like, I spend so much of my energy focused on mods, so they're obviously 2 very important things. So then we get down to these 4 questions, and I think these are very good questions here. So is there something we didn't list above? Now, I'd already filled this out before, so, like, I would say for me, like, you know, are Kyrotech signal data, or Kyrotech Gear 13 signal data and relic materials included in the gear category? If not, they're all 4. They're all extremely important to me. What factors do I consider when deciding to improve your roster for the game? I'm going to fill this out again. So for me, I would say it's the return on investment. Use in special events, TB, raids, conquest, etc. Like, why have I not used Dr. Aphra? She isn't required for anything, right? She doesn't help me get anything extra. Cal Kestis, Gungans, Inquisitors, all of them have kind of led into all of these different, you know, specials and abilities. So that, you know, allows me to say, yeah, you know what? When I'm trying to improve my roster, I look at the return on my investment. What am I getting in return? And that kind of leads me down that way. What keeps me coming back? Guys, if we got to be honest, right? I know we love to give Capital Games crap, but overall enjoyment. Like, I love Star Wars. And this game overall gives me a fun experience to play as my favorite teams, heroes, and of course, our King Wampa. Gotta put him in there, right? And then what are some reasons you might stop playing? So I was thinking long and hard about this one, and I kind of came up with this. And I was like, you know what? Diminish in place of luck of rolls on Datacrons, the power creep of newer characters, and lack of rewards for skilled players. So think about this, right? The luck of rolls on Datacrons. What are we saying here? I'm saying that in, like, the grand scheme of this game, when my skill in Grand Arena comes down to the fact that my opponent got a 60% deflection Datacron and I only got 20%, or they got a 80% health ray and I got 50% critical chance. Like, that's diminishing skill because they got a good Datacron and I did not. The power creep of newer characters. Every new character is getting better and one-upping and one-upping and one-upping. And that's fine, like they should get better, but it's getting to a point where these new characters get so good because they're the new thing, then they get a Datacron on top of it, and it just kind of compiles. And then the lack of rewards for skilled players. Nothing pisses me off more than watching myself whoop up on opponents who are around my galactic power, right? Have the same kind of roster that I do. And then I have to go fight that guy with 13 million galactic power. And I understand it, right? I'm not, like, I harp on this a lot, but my argument is you're diminishing the skill. That you don't care if somebody with 8 million galactic power is good at this game. You're going to make sure that they don't win any more GACs than the guy who has 10 million galactic power and is garbage at GAC. So, those are just the reasons I'm going to submit this again. Thank you guys again for watching. Hopefully this helps you understand the way I filled out the survey and kind of how you should fill it out, right? What's important to you? Don't use the fat fill method. What is really important to you? For me, as somebody who tries to compete at the highest levels of this game, I'm constantly needing all the stuff that I marked this for. So let me know your thoughts. Again, link to that survey down below. I love you all. May the force be with you, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.